Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bree in the Garden. Today we're going to be talking about 4 different kinds of flowers. All of them are new to me this year, so we'll be going over all the research I've done about starting these seeds and growing them through their whole life. So yeah, we'll go over that and then we'll actually get these started and put them under the grow lights so they can get their start for the 2021 season. So first up is Feverfew. Like I said, I've never grown this one before, so here is the research I did about this one. It's generally going to take about 75 days to maturity, so that's pretty quick, pretty good. And from everything that I found and kind of making my own decisions based on the different things that people recommend, I'm going to start this 8 to 10 weeks before last frost, and I'm about 8 weeks out from last frost right now, so that's why we're getting this started today. On how to start this, people say barely cover the seed because light is actually required to germinate for this one. And then because we're not really covering it and the seed's just gonna sit right on the top of the soil, we will want to bottom water this so that watering from the top won't like wash the seeds away or anything like that. And then I've made a note to bump this one up to a larger container when the first true leaves appear. The expected germination on this is 10 to 14 days at 70 degrees, but I'll be taking my own notes on that this year so that I can figure out what it actually is for me. I find that a lot of times the expected germinations are longer than they actually take, so we'll see what happens. You don't need to pinch this one at all because I think it's like naturally gonna branch out. And then I will be hardening this off and transplanting it out into my garden around the last frost. So these will get spaced 9 inches when I put them into the garden, and we can expect them to get around 28 to 36 inches tall. Harvesting these, you're going to want to do that when the flower cluster is about 3/4 of the way open, or else it'll wilt. I don't know. But you can expect a long vase life out of these, around 7 days if you're using floral preserve. And also these are considered a dirty flower, so dirty flowers can turn the water dark and murky, so you want to add a few drops of bleach to the water and I think change it a little more often than you normally would. This is a single type, but these do come in single or double varieties, and you can expect the blooms from these from midsummer to frost. And the more you pick these, the more they're going to grow. I love flowers like that because I like to pick and have them come back, so this is a good one. And they will often produce a second flush of blooms if they're picked hard. So after blooming, the flowers turn brown, so you can like cut them back and it will bloom again, I guess, until frost. The next one we're gonna go over is the sunball flower. This one can also be called drumstick sometimes, so you may hear it referred to as that. It's around 100 to 120 days to maturity on this one, and I have decided that this one should be started indoors around 6 to 8 weeks before last frost. Like I said, I'm about 8 weeks out, so getting this one going now. You're also going to want to barely cover this one when you're starting it and bump this one up to a larger container after the second set of true leaves appear. Expected germination is 14 to 18 days at 70 to 75 degrees, so this will definitely go on the heat mat. It doesn't require a pinch, and you will want to harden off and transplant this out into the garden after the danger of frost has passed, because it's not really cold hardy at all, so definitely wait until there's not going to be any more frost. Into the garden, this will be spaced at 12 inches, and you can expect this to be around 24 to 30 inches tall. For this, you want to harvest it at its peak. A lot of flowers you want to harvest like before they're at their peak, unless you're picking them for drying purposes. But this one, you can see, I'm not really sure how it's gonna open, but yeah, just pick it right when it's at its peak, and it just says to expect a long vase life on this. So that's it. Next up is stock. This one has 90 to 100 days expected until maturity. The variety I have is actually called Dwarf 10 Weeks Mix. And I decided to do a winter sowing of this that I've already done that's hanging out outside. And I've also decided I'm going to try transplants of this 8 to 10 weeks before last frost. This one I will start the seed 1/4 of an inch deep and can expect 7 to 14 days until germination at 65 to 75 degrees. Also does not require a pinch. Stock, I believe, are like 1 spike per flower, so you definitely don't want to pinch because then I don't think anything would come back. But this is my first time growing stock, so I'm kind of a newbie. Yeah, then you're going to want to transplant it when it has around 4 to 5 true leaves after the danger of frost. These can get spaced 4 inches apart in the garden, and you can expect these ones specifically to get 12 to 14 inches high. Harvest for these happens when the flowers are about 30 to 40% open. So that's like 1/3 to 1/2 of the flowers on the stem are open, and you can expect 7 to 10 days out of these in the vase, and you'll want to remove most of the other foliage before putting it in there and change the water frequently. So yeah, these are good because they are fast growing and they bloom over a long period of time. People recommend successions if you want to get multiple harvests of these. They also say, I know I just said transplant them out after the danger of frost, but people have mentioned that they do have quite a bit of cold tolerance, so try winter sowing, which is why I'm doing that method as well, and that actually the cool temperatures aid in germination. So I'm definitely going to be watching these closely and taking notes on how the winter sowing versus the transplants perform, so that in subsequent years I won't have to do both. I'll just do whatever worked best this year. Yeah, so they can actually, the flower stalks can produce single or double blooms. Johnny's actually has like a whole production guide on this that walks you through, there's a method you can like try to predict which of the little seedlings will produce those single or double blooms, and like, I guess people get rid of the ones that are single blooms, but I decided I don't really care if they're single or double, so I'm not going to bother with any of that, and whatever I get. So yeah, definitely don't allow these ones to become root bound because that will result in them having shorter stems. So keep them in an appropriate size container, and I guess don't let them hang out in a small container for too long. And people have also said not to overwater these. So if you have like automated watering system or whatever, put these a little farther away from the most wet areas. Okay, and the last one we're going to go over today is Sweet William. I think people sometimes call these garden pinks. I've personally never heard that, but that's what the internet says, so it must be true. These are about 90 to 125 days to maturity, and you want to start these as transplants indoors 6 to 12 weeks before last frost. So you figure 8 weeks before last frost right now, probably good as time as any. So you can plant these ones a half inch deep and bump them up to larger containers, 3 to 4 inches, at around the 20 to 25 day mark when they're about an inch high. Expected germination on these is 7 to 14 days at 65 to 72 degrees. You also do not need to pinch these ones, and you can harden these off and transplant them when they are about 3 to 4 inches. They'll be spaced 9 inches out in the garden, and you can expect them to get 12 to 18 inches high. Harvest for these, I've seen a couple different things recommended. One thing I've seen is like when they're only 10 to 20% of the flowers in the cluster are open, but I've also seen harvest them when they're about 40 to 50%. So I guess anywhere between 10 to 50%, that's when you want to harvest them. And then you can expect a very long vase life from these, around 7 to 10 days. So There's different varieties of these, and some of them you can expect flowers in the first year, but some of them actually perform like biennial, so you wouldn't get flowers until the second year. The type I have says you can't expect flowers in the first year, so I'm really hoping for that. It'd be a bummer to grow these and not get any flowers, because I don't think I'd be able to keep these alive over the winter into the second year. But people really like Sweet William because they actually fill a gap in bloom time. So after all the tulips and things like that kind of fade away, they can be one of the first hardy annuals to produce blooms. So I actually plan on tucking these in a spring bulb bed that I have, because they'll help to kind of cover the dying foliage that I'll leave, so it can continue to harness energy for the bulbs. But I'll put these in there so that there's still blooms and, you know, something interesting to look at. I've also heard that the more you pick these, the more they flower. That's the kind of flowers I like, so that's great. And these appreciate cool temperatures of around 50 to 55 degrees. So you'll want to ideally grow them at around 50 to 55 degrees to keep them healthiest. And definitely avoid super warm temperatures, especially at night, because that can lead to soft growth. Okay, so now it's time to decide how much of each of these to start. This is my 2021 garden vision board, so I'm just going to check in with this to figure out sorry, where I would put these in the garden and kind of like how much I would need of each. So I think the Sweet Williams, like I mentioned, will go in a spring bulb bed, which is right here. When planting this bed, I did leave a couple of spaces open to put in some annuals. So this is one, and that will go in that bed there. So I probably only need a couple of those. So I'll probably start a 6-pack. So the stock, I think I'll put into this area here. I sort of left this area open because I knew things would come up, like the stock that I didn't have in the original plan. So I think I will plant a row of stock in this bed here, maybe 2, because these ones can go pretty close together. So that's where those will go. So I'll probably start like 2 6-packs of these. All right, these ones are one that I have planned for, and they're gonna go in this bed here. This is exclusively a cut flower bed. So yeah, you can see that they are in the plan right here, and so they'll go in an area here. Once I get I'll spend a little more time figuring out the heights of all of the plants planned for this cut flower bed, and figure out how to do it so that it's not like a tall variety and then a short one, then a tall one. Like I'll have it go gradually up, but these will go in that bed there. And I'll probably do a 6-pack of these as well. And then lastly, the Feverfew, I did plan for these in this bed. This bed is going to be half cucumbers and squash, and then half, I put the stock in there already, and I did plan that the Feverfew will go there in a row, so I guess a 6-pack of these too. All right, let's get these started. So I have my seed starting mix. I'm just gonna put it in this bowl here. And it looks like it's a little dry, so I'll grab some water. And we will moisten this up a bit. That should be good. So I just have these little packs. This is what I like to start my seeds in, and then as they kind of grow and get some roots established in here, I do pot them up into bigger containers. So that's how I like to start though. Do these ones. So remember, these ones said just to barely cover. So I'm gonna do 2 in each cell, and then I'll thin down to the strongest one. You can't really see. I don't know. I guess that's as good as it's gonna get. I'm just gonna put a little bit to barely cover these on top. Pat them in. Okay. There we go. Okay, next we will do the stalk. Yep, it just says 1/4 of an inch deep, so that is what we'll do. Little poker. And I know I just said I was gonna do 2 6-packs of these, but then I remembered I also did a winter sowing of these, so I really only need 1 6-pack of the transplants. And also these were the ones that were recommended to do successions of, so I can decide to do another succession of this in a couple weeks if I want to as well. Second one done. Next will be the Sweet William, which just says 1/2 of an inch deep. So use my little poker. Done. And lastly, we'll do the Feverfew. This one, it says to barely cover because the light is required for germination on this. These are pretty tiny little seeds. So I'll just kind of like get the top of each cell kind of loosened up. Any big chunks out of there. It's too much in that one. Too much in that one too. And I'm just putting a few seeds in each cell to ensure germination, and I can always spin them out. All right, so I'm just gonna, I guess maybe take some of this dry starting mix and just sprinkle like a tiny bit on top, just a little bit, and kind of tap it down. And just create a quick marker for this one. All right, so now let's just water these in and get them on the heat mat. All right, to water these in, I'm just going to give them a little bit of a spray to settle the top of the soil. I'll give the Feverfew a pretty good spray because I'm not going to water that anymore. But then I will take my favorite little watering can here. Has this really light little sprinkle attachment. So I will go ahead and give these just a light sprinkle, skipping the Feverfew. Okay, so this is the tray I currently have on the heat mat. So we're gonna have to make room for these in here. So this is just kind of a backup oregano and sage I did, and looks like it's germinating. So I'll go ahead and take that out of there. Oh, whoops, fell over. It's okay. And then I think all of these should fit. Perfect. So, oh look, yay, I have some jalapenos sprouting. And then these are my Icelandic poppies. They're very small, but they are germinating, so that is very exciting. I don't see anything else though. Okay, so I have got them back on the heat mat under the lights. They're hanging out with their plant baby friends. And now we just wait and see when they germinate. So thank you so much for tuning in today. In the next episode, I have another batch of new flowers to go over kind of in the same way, where we'll go over the research and we'll get them started. And as always, in every episode, I'll just kind of give an update on how things are doing. So see you next time.